Hi there, this is Sheena Rowlands and today I'm sharing with you my latest layout for CSI. And this is case file 422 and it's got a bit of an autumnal Halloween theme. So I've got out my Halloween supplies and some papers that go with the colour scheme for this case file, and I'm going to start making a 12 by 12 layout featuring my daughter as a devil one Halloween a few years ago. I think it was 2006 or it might have been 2007. I'll have to look that up before I put the details on the layout. So if you played along with CSI before, you'll know that there's a inspirational image, a group of colours. You can also use blacks, whites, browns, grey as well. There's a list of evidence, so these are lots of bits and pieces that they recommend you try and add into your layout. And there's a testimony, so the testimony is Halloween or autumn is the one that I'm using, and obviously it's Halloween. And from the list of evidence, I've taken wood grain and watercolour, which is, well, I know it's not quite watercolour on paper because this is a Vicky Bootin background, but that's where I got the idea of the background because it said watercolour on it. It also mentions decorative borders, and I am going to create a decorative border here on the right hand side of this. So I've cut out the black scallops from a piece of paper and I'm just going to start to layer these up on the right of this 12 by 12. I've also got some triangular die cuts there on the left by the photograph. They're actually a silhouette cut file. I think it was by Just Nick. They were previously cut. They were in my bag with my Halloween supplies, so I've obviously used that before, but they're the bits that were left. So I've stuck all that down on the right there, and I'm going to add the scallop and the spiky border over the top, and I think that's the placement for my photograph. So I'm just bringing in some bits and pieces that would also fit the colour scheme and also the evidence list. So tags are on there, so I thought 2 tags would make a good base for the layout. Now I quite like this haunted house. Now this is by Doodlebug Designs and it was from their Hauntingly Halloween range. I think it was 2005. Can you believe I've still got that in my stash? I can. In fact, it took me a bit to realise that I'd got some Halloween supplies. So it's no wonder that I've still got something from 2005. And I really like that house sticking out behind the photograph. The sticky circles that I've got there, like enamel dots type, they are from Simple Stories Spooky Nights, and that's 2021. That a collection that I've picked up. So I've actually got all of that collection, but it's got quite a little bit of purple and green, and they're not in the colourways for this cut file, for this case file. So I'm only picking and choosing the bits that match the colours. Quite like those 2 pumpkins that go with the pumpkin in the photograph. And they're by Shenanigans, a small 3D printed company that I run myself. Those bats also are 3D printed. So I'm just decided that I'm going to stick things down. So I'm taking the haunted house off its background and I'm sticking some vellum behind the doors and windows. Also that means that then I can raise it up on foam without it sticking to anything else. So I'm just adding a little bit of vellum there as well. And in fact, using something transparent is mentioned on the list of evidence, and I'm actually going to use something else transparent a bit later on, but that's what made me dig out some of the vellum as well. I think just going behind that sticker. And I've only used a few pieces just to cover those windows. Just bringing in a bit of talc to cover the stickiness on the rest of the sticker, so that it doesn't stick itself into place where I don't want it. So I like the way that looks, so I'm going to take the background off in a minute and I'm going to run a line of sewing down the scallop border. Also I noticed that swirls was on the list, so I decided I would put this tag through the Sizzix, and I'm using an embossing folder. I wasn't sure if it'd be strong enough, to be honest, but it worked really well, so I thought that added another texture as well. And I've stuck that and the black straight down to the base layer. So I'm going to just add a bit of foam behind this haunted house and get that in position overhanging the right hand border. Decide I'm going to add another bit of red behind my photograph. I don't use too much red. There's quite a lot of red in the photo actually. I'm going to use the torn edge on the left hand side. So at the very beginning I used my tearing ruler from Fiskars. do you know, there's times where I think that ruler's older than me. I've been using it in so many different crafts over the years, and I still use it now. It's probably one of my favourite tools. And I had it as a card maker, and my kids have used it for school things. And when you want to tear a straight line, I find it really, really useful. So I like the way that torn edge is on the left of that photo. I get sidetracked, don't I? I thought I'd make a cluster at the bottom, mainly because there's actually a cluster on the decoration on the Vicky Booting background. And I thought, why not? I've got plenty of supplies there. I could add my title in the bottom corner. So using another house sticker, and I'm going to add over the top of that a tree with foam, and then the trick or treat will be the title of the whole layout. So that will all sit really nicely at the bottom there. Also got a couple of little wooden mushrooms or toadstools, and they're on the list as well of evidence. So I'm just going to bring in and put my photograph in place. I want to add these two pumpkins to the bottom of the photo, so just using a little bit of wet glue. I'm going to put a bit of black cardstock behind them both, just so that it makes it a bit more spooky in the eyes, and I can add those two then with a bit of foam. These two bits of, I don't know, fronds I suppose, or leaves, they were already pre-cut. I keep a little box of things that I've cut and then I don't use, so I thought as they were black they add a little bit more either side, soften it up a little bit with the tags and all the straight lines. So I quite like the way those have worked. I quite like it when I start using up things that I've either cut before or I've put away before, thinking, actually, will I use them, won't I? And then when I do use them, not only does it save me time, but I think, yeah, it was worth saving them in the first place. So sticking those two pumpkins down. This layout came together really easily for me, which is quite unusual, as these things normally take me a lot of time. So you'll find that half the design team have worked with this case file, this 422. And there's lots of inspiration both on the Facebook page and on the Instagram as well. So it's really worth checking out everybody's interpretation, because they're all going to be really quite different. So really great team of scrappers. So I really recommend you check those out. So I've now got some ghosts that are vellum. And they're definitely a silhouette file from Just Nick. I do remember cutting them a year or two ago. So there was a few left, and I'd obviously stored them sensibly in my Halloween supplies. So I'm going to add a few of those as another transparent feature. Twine or string is also on the list. So I thought, why not add a little bit through the tag? I'm not quite sure where I want it to finish. So I'm just going to leave that curled up there at the moment while I stick down the bats. Also, I'm going to add a few stars as well because they're on the list, and hey, why not? I have to say, when you do one of these challenges, having the list of things to include actually really makes you shop your own stash and have a good look what you've got. And I certainly would add potentially more different things to a layout than I normally would do. It certainly has you looking at some of maybe your older supplies and maybe mixing collections, that sort of thing. And if that's not something you do normally, then it would be a challenge, but it's really good to see how different things work together. The dark red paper that's on the right and behind the photograph is actually a basic grey, and it's called Mellow. It didn't have a year on it, but I dread to think what year that was. But it works really well with the other pieces in this layout, so you would never know that there's at least 3 different collections. And the wood grain, I believe, was Cosmo Cricket. So these are all names from the past, so if you recognise them, it shows you've been scrapping for a little while. So I've cleaned up a little. I think I'm nearly done. I've just got some glue dots now, and I'm going to add a couple more stars and another bat there at the lower end. But I really would recommend you check these out. As I say, have a look at the Facebook, have a look on Instagram at CSI Colour Story Inspiration. Here I am with the evidence, just ticking off the bits that I've used. I would say, at least half, so that's always a good sign. Got some nice depth to that layout. So here's the finished image and some close-ups too. Thanks so much for watching. Check us out. Have a look at my little shop if you'd like. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It was great to see you here. Thanks very much for watching. Bye for now.